Hello, my love. Welcome to your weekly forecast for the week of May 18th to the 25th, 2025. There's so much happening this week. Gemini season begins, Mercury moves into Gemini, and the Sun and Uranus are both active. It's a week of breakthroughs and new possibilities. But the main highlight of the week is Saturn entering Aries, which is the first of a few big outer planet movements that we have coming up this summer. Saturn will be in Aries until 2028. And so really the next 2.5 to 3 years starts here. Let's get into the highlights of the week. On Tuesday, the 20th, at 2:54 p.m. ET, the Sun ingresses into Gemini, and we move into Gemini season until June 20th. Gemini is the first air sign of the zodiac, which brings the winds of change into our life. This season is all about connection and communication and collaboration. This season picks up the pace and gets things moving in new, interesting directions. So if you've been feeling stagnant or in any way stuck or heavy, just wait. Gemini season is not boring, especially this Gemini season. Now, this season is also the very last season of the light half of the year because summer solstice arrives right at the very end of it on June 20th. Gemini is a mutable sign, and so it's all about wrapping things up and perfecting things and getting ready to move into a brand new season. So as you move through this next month, just consider how you could really set yourself up for the next 6 months and the fall and winter. Now on Thursday, Venus in Aries forms a trine to Mars in Leo, and Thursday is high energy and potentially pretty productive. Things work. Fires start and continue burning. Venus has been in Aries on and off since February 4th this year, and it was retrograde and in shadow for really a lot of that time. So Venus hasn't been really high functioning for quite a bit of this year. And so this trine to Mars could give her a bit of a boost. Thursday could have us feeling social and expressive and maybe a little more confident and carefree. This could be a fun, energizing day where the joy that we take in things can just feel a little bit sweeter. Now on Saturday, the 24th, we have a bunch of highlights. At 11:55 a.m., the Sun trines Pluto. Later, at 7:15 p.m., Mercury conjoins Uranus. And then at 11:36 p.m., Saturn enters Aries. So Saturday's really the big day this week. And the Sun trine Pluto sets the day off on a deeply purposeful note, with the Sun newly in Gemini forming this beneficial aspect to Pluto. We can be dialed in to our intentions for the day and maybe the week ahead or the season more generally. We are dialed in. Pluto is about the deepest truth, and the Sun is pure awareness. So by noon, the stage is set for clear thinking, and maybe some really useful, motivating insights could come through. Now, later into the evening, Mercury will conjoin Uranus in Taurus, and if clarity hasn't come through yet on Saturday, it could by this evening. Uranus is higher knowing and downloads from the future. And meeting up with Mercury, we have a meeting of the mind and soul, in a sense. And in Taurus, the sign of the body and material security, this Mercury-Uranus conjunction could trigger some awareness around our values and the next steps that we want to take to align with them. We could even be called to make some change, starting now. But just before midnight on Saturday, we have the main highlight of the week, which is Saturn entering Aries, beginning a new 2.5-year Saturn cycle. Now, Saturn will be in Aries until September 1st after Saturday, but this brief 4-month stint is just a preview of a longer 2.5-year Saturn transit that will start more officially in February 2026. So this summer and this weekend is really just the beginning of some new commitment or boundary or contract that will deepen and intensify over the next couple years. Ultimately, Saturn in cardinal fire sign Aries will invite us to take a next step in our independence and forge forward on our own unique path and put ourselves and our goals first. This new Saturn transit is our time to start externalizing the inner work that we have been doing over the last 2.5 years with Saturn in Pisces. If Saturn in Pisces, the dreamer, taught us about building up our belief in ourselves and in our dreams, Saturn in Aries, the warrior, will help us to move head first on our own self-directed path with our own definitions of success and our own key performance indicators. Now, Saturn is in fall in Aries. Here, Saturn's sense of duty has to be applied to the self first, and that's not easy for Saturn. But in 2025, from this weekend on, we learn how to take full responsibility for our own success, starting by acknowledging what success actually means for us and giving ourselves permission to go for it. Now, on Sunday, Mercury enters Gemini, where it will be until June 8th. Mercury is at home in Gemini, where it can move and collect up and sort through information swiftly and easily. So with the Sun and Mercury now both in Gemini, ideas can really get moving and start taking off this week. Ruts and blocks can dissolve, and conversations can lead to things happening from now until June 8th. Now, next week, we have our new moon in Gemini. Mercury conjoins Pluto and approaches its conjunction to the Sun for our Mercury Cazimi. And let's pull some tarot cards for the week of May 18th to the 25th and see what guidance comes through from the tarot. How can we make the most of the energies this week? And what is this week about for us on a spiritual level? Let's see what the tarot offers. So we have the High Priestess, the Nine of Wands, and the Magician. Powerful cards to see coming up for us this week. It can be a week where a lot happens, a lot is created, and a very new journey is embarked on. The High Priestess and the Magician are really powerful cards to see coming up in the same spread, because they're both really the first two cards in the whole sequence of the tarot. The Magician is the first. It's the first door the Fool walks through, who teaches the Fool that you can manifest an idea into reality. It's all about manifestation. Next, the High Priestess comes after the Magician, and after the Fool learns about grounding a dream and making things happen for themselves, he has to go deeper into the self, and the High Priestess represents connecting even more fully with the inner realms and really going deeper into our inner conscious and psyche, and asking a deeper question of what is it that we really want on a soul level. And so I see these two cards coming up as a signal that this is a big week. For one thing, it's the start of something, a new journey, and everything that we want to achieve is just beyond fear. The Nine of Wands coming up in between these two cards is like there's some part of us, maybe our nerves, our body, that feels a little unsafe in a way. And we want to be really conscious to any fear that comes up this week, because I think we could have an opportunity to heal it and transform it and transmute it into something new. That's really the main theme of the week: transformation, transmutation, manifestation. It's a really magical week. So we want to be awake to the magic of the present moment and available for it. We don't want to act out of fear this week, because that chapter is over. We don't need to be afraid anymore. The 9 of Wands is the end of a journey. This is a 9. It's about completion and fulfillment. So maybe the last quarter and a half of 2025 has left you feeling like the 9 of Wands, unsafe, ill at ease, on edge, wondering who you can trust, wondering if you can even trust yourself. There's a sense of worry and just like on edgeness that comes with the 9 of Wands. And I feel like this week, as we come into a new season and a whole lot of new shifts, really, with Saturn moving into Aries, it is a new paradigm. And we want to just be mindful of any ways that our thoughts might, go back to assumptions from the past. I am not safe because this happened in the past. Okay. But is that true? We can be rewiring things, maybe, in our outlook this week. And I think what we want to do this week is balance time in our inner world. Like, meditation is a beautiful practice to prioritize this week with the High Priestess. This is like a door opening to our inner knowing, and it could be a week of revelation, certainly with all of this mercurial energy, Uranian energy, solar energy. This week is clarifying. It's maybe revelatory. And so meditation, holding space for your inner guidance, for dreams, visions, higher knowings to come through, prioritize that. And also take action. The Magician has one hand raised up to the sky, symbolizing like a channel for inspiration, and one hand pointing down to the earth. A reminder that in order for an idea, a wisdom, an intelligence, a knowing to have any value, it needs to have life and express through us. So what we want to do this week is remember that. And I think not underestimate our power and like our own value as a sacred channel of all that we came here to create. I think what could be helpful this week to make a point to do is just conduct little experiments. I feel like with the 9 of Wands, there's a part of us that might be apprehensive to move forward and like open our heart in a way and like move forward fully on this like new chapter and kind of new paradigm that we're maybe creating inside. And with the High Priestess, it's like there's so much wisdom here. So much wisdom, like to a cellular level. There's a part of us maybe that knows that, yes, we have brilliant ideas, and there could even be like a deep sense of confidence or courage inside of us that is just like a small little bud or ember. And in order to manifest that, which there's certainly potential for manifesting this week with the Magician coming up here, it's about conducting little experiments, just without any pressure. Experiment. What would happen if you just put something out there, set forth the call, and just saw who came, what happened as a result. We want to experiment this week and just try things out and see what happens, not hinging our success on any one thing, one avenue, one idea, one version of us. We want to open our mind this week, because I think this week is like very expansive and opening. And so we don't need to be all in. Gemini is like a little bit of everything all the time energy. And so, yeah, experiments, self-belief, balance, time within versus taking action. On the root of the deck, we have the Six of Pentacles. So new boundaries, really bringing our awareness to what we're making ourselves available for and how, and what we're opening up to receive in return for that. Getting strategic, the Six of Pentacles is about that give and take, that flow of energy exchange in our life. And it just comes up to help us to bring our awareness to that energy exchange and what updates need to be made around it. What's feeling good and what's not feeling good, what's not really working anymore. Doesn't mean it's never going to work again, but just for now, you can recalibrate. My love, thank you for listening to your weekly forecast on Magic Woman Radio. I hope your week is absolutely blessed and magical and abundant in all the ways, and I will talk to you next week.